It's now time for On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson. The conversation will range from local dialogue to international. This show is meant to enlighten, inform, and to inspire. On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson begins now.
Hello and welcome to On the Line. I'm your host, Cheryl Wilkerson. Welcome to Sunday morning. How are you feeling? Hope last week was good for you and hope the upcoming week will be even better. I got some good advice the other day. I was feeling like so ho-hum, that whole kind of thing. So I sent a text to a friend of mine, and it came back with some good advice. It was take a deep breath, rest, and refocus. So you might want to do that on this Sunday. Take a deep breath, rest, and refocus. But before you all do all of that, I'm so excited about today's show because I have never, ever done an interview with a real live country singer, songwriter extraordinaire, and that's what I am doing today. So we welcome to the program Roberta Lea. How are you?
Hey, so I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. You are my first. Look, I've been interviewing people a whole looks like more life than I should have, but I have never. I was supposed to do an interview with Chapel Hart. You're familiar?
I am. I opened up for them in Virginia Beach a couple weeks ago.
When they were here. Yeah, so I was supposed to do an interview with them, but it didn't come through. But anyway, So I got you. So this is very, very good. So let's go back and you introduce yourself to the listening audience. Tell us about growing up and your roots here in the 757.
Okay, well, my name is Roberta Lea. I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and I went to Norview High School, graduated from Virginia Wesleyan College, and I was teaching at Lake Taylor and Booker T. Washington for a while. So when I say that this is home, this is my roots are right here in the 757. And I decided to start doing music. I've been doing music for a really long time, but when the pandemic happened, I decided to do a pivot. I call it my pandemic pivot. And I just I said, life's short. I have to give it a shot. I have to at least try. So in 2021, I decided to do music full time. And I became a member of the Black Offering, which is a collective of Black artists who do country music. And I didn't consider myself country at first. I didn't really know what genre I fit in because I was writing country songs, but I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like I had a space to actually sing them. And so when I started to get feedback from listeners and fans, I just found the place that fits. They describe me as country neo-pop. And so I get to have a lot of fun underneath that umbrella of genre. And I became CMT's Next Women of Country class of 2023 this year. And the journey has been incredible so far.
Well, let's go back. Growing up, you have siblings?
I do.
Are any of them in music?
No, actually.
You're like, no. So growing up, did mom have R&B going on Saturday mornings when she opened the windows and you had to get up and clean the house, or what was going on?
Yes, absolutely. Mom had R&B going on. I mean, it's like you did a case study of my household. Yes, that's exactly what happened, actually. And my mom and dad, they both loved jazz. Jazz was always on the radio, 88.1. Shout out. And my sisters would listen to 91. They would listen to 103 Jams. I mean, the radio was just always on. I remember Quiet Storm specifically, and things of that nature. So it was constantly different influences because my mom and my dad, they had the old school R&B. That's Roberta Flack. That's Anita Baker, right? But my oldest sister would listen to Cheryl Crow.
Okay.
Cheryl Crow, Jewel, Alanis Morissette.
Yes.
Specifically, I remember. And then my other sister was like Tupac, Trina.
You had it all going on.
So it was just fun. It was just we were a household that just really appreciated music.
And as far as you teaching, how did that come about? I always think that teachers are called. Were you called to teach?
I do. I believe like I was called to teach, but I'm learning that life happens in different cycles and different phases, and that callings can be for a certain period of time, and those callings can change. So I was doing music long before I even thought about teaching.
Okay.
I was always writing. I was always writing songs. I was going to church, and like a lot of people say, that's where they get their start. You start plucking around on the keyboard. You start messing around on the drums. It was a great place where I could kind of cultivate and make mistakes and be awkward as a songwriter and a performer. And you know how church goes. Like, you get up there, and if you're singing for the Lord, they're going to clap for you and say amen. It doesn't matter how
Isn't that
wonderful?
wonderful?
It doesn't matter, but it was a safe space to grow, in that light. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that is what I hear from so many artists. They say it was a safe place. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I was writing songs about 15, 16 years old. Someone showed me 2 chords on the keyboard, and that's all I needed. And I would just write and write and write and write and write. So when it came to deciding and making a change, like, being a songwriter was just always a part of me. It was just an itch that I always had to scratch. It was a piece of me that I could never get rid of. I'll go through phases of creativity where, I'm painting here and then I stop, and then make jewelry there and then I stop, and then I want to decorate here and then I stop. But as far as songwriting, it never ended.
Tell me what you did with these songs that you wrote.
So when I first started writing songs, I was part of a little band at church. We were called Ruah Beat, which Ruah meant soul in Hebrew, if I recall correctly. And so I was at liberty to write songs for the band. They wanted original songs, and so I was just going for it. And the feedback was just great. You know what I mean? Just as a new songwriter, as just a new artist, like, people were like, "Man, when are you coming out with a CD? When are you when are you working on a project?" But I just, music is never really presented to youth as a viable career option.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't get presented that way. We get our little storybooks when we're kids, and you see doctor, you see police officer, you see teacher, you see, right? It's very narrow perception of what you could do.
That's
when
true.
you get out of college. Right. And so when people tell me, like, "Hey, we love your music, we want to buy your stuff, where's your CD?" I didn't think of it as an option as far as a career is concerned. I just thought it was a fun hobby to do.
Well, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you got to write and it was actually heard through that band you were a part of, that's really nice.
Yeah, and it's nice to get, honest feedback from people. I think that's the most important thing, especially before an artist starts recording, is performing first. Performing in front of people and get the feedback. And if people are rocking with you, you can feel safe to move forward. So it wasn't until my late 20s where I was like, okay, this is something. This is something that I should explore a little bit more. And it took me a while to step out in faith, but I finally did.
But when you were teaching, what joy did you get from that? What was the joy there? What was the satisfaction?
Man, I love my students. I mean, I taught high school, so it was just fun. I get to do all sorts of things, but as a creative, like, I would have a lot of fun.
Oh.
I had a lot of fun. I taught Spanish, so I wasn't bogged down by state testing, right?
Right.
So I had a lot of freedom to do all sorts of stuff. But when I tell you I went all out, I would make escape rooms from scratch. And I'm not talking about like a little worksheet that they had to do. I mean, I would turn the lights out. I would have smoke machines. I would have creepy music in the back. I would have locks and keys and nasty slop. They would have to dig their hands through to find it. I had so much fun. And being a creative person, like, I really found a lot of freedom in teaching Spanish high school students and being creative.
I bet your students absolutely love you. I bet they still keep in touch with you today.
They do. Oh my gosh. I ran into quite a few of them, even one at something in the water.
Oh, wow.
They were right behind me, and I kept looking at them like, you look very familiar. But I run into them all the time, and it goes to show that the impact was real because they're actually happy to see me.
Yes, yes.
I'm pretty sure we can think of a couple teachers we would want to avoid in public.
Yes. Go the other way.
At all costs. And every single time, it's just a big hug. It's a picture. It's how are you doing? It's beautiful.
So you described to us that during the pandemic you came to this realization, but walk us through that, because I'm sure that decision wasn't as easy as some might think. And did the idea have to grow on you about pivoting? How did you come to that realization?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was not easy at all. I feel like it was about 2 or 3 years kind of in the making, honestly. Where my husband and I had to, I told him, I said, look, this is something I really want to try. This is something I really want to do. So while I was teaching, we made a plan. We made a financial plan to get out of debt, pay off my student loans, things like that, while I was still working, and putting ourselves in a position where it's like, okay, when we're ready to make the move, we can do so. So when the pandemic happened, March of 2020, I'm leaving. I remember walking down the hallway, leaving my school at the time, Booker T, and getting the news with my coworker that, hey, school's out for 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks turned to 4 weeks. And then 4 weeks turned to... So when we got back the next year, the beginning of the year, it was completely virtual. We moved to like semi-virtual towards the second half of the year, if I remember correctly. And it was, I knew it was the right time because before my husband and I moved to North Carolina for a short period of time, and that's when I left Lake Taylor. And I remember telling my students that I was moving, and just the crying and the tears and how hard it was to leave them. I just loved them so much, and it was really heartbreaking. During the pandemic, I'm teaching, and in the beginning of the school year, I have not met these kids physically. I see them briefly for like the first week or two, and then most of them just turn their cameras to blank, right? Ooh. They just turn the cameras to just off screen. And there will be kids that participated, but they don't want to turn their camera on if nobody else has their camera on,
Peer pressure.
So, their cameras are off. I don't know what they look like. I don't know the real, I don't have this connection with them like I did all the years before. So when the school year came to a close and we made the plan, we hit all our goals, we got out of debt, my husband and I were like, okay, we're in the right space. It was a little bit easier to kind of bow out gracefully because none of the kids, even when we went back into physical, like there were some kids they had the option, they could either stay at home or come into school. The kids that signed up to came in school would be like 2 of them, 3 kids, per class. So it was just like, okay, if I'm gonna make a move now, I feel like this is the best place emotionally, financially, for me to just bow out gracefully and say goodbye. Waving goodbye to gray boxes on the computer screen. Like it was just like, okay, yeah,
you can do this, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the atmosphere that kind of made it like, okay, it's time to move.
If you are just joining us today, I'm talking to country neo-pop artist Roberta Lea. She's a 757 native, but she is on the country scene and she's getting some heads turning around, and we're happy to talk to her today. So let's fast forward to, you've gotten some press lately about too much of a woman. Talk to us about Too Much of a Woman.
Yes, Too Much of a Woman is the first single of my debut album. of the same title that's coming out this fall. And I wrote it about a year ago, I think January of 2022. And it was just a outpouring of all the frustrating circumstances where, you know, I've been looked down upon for any particular weakness or any, you know, or for being too strong, you know, and some circumstances where my assertiveness wasn't appreciated at certain tables. So I wrote the song. I released an acoustic version of it last year, and I got in touch with a friend of mine. Her name is Vanessa McGowan, and she is the bass player for Brandy Clark.
Okay.
Huge star in the country Americana realm. And so I said, hey, you know, I have this song, and I'd really love to have an entire all women, you know, to track this song. Can you help me? And so we connected to Jackie Vincent, who is an extremely talented Black woman in the rock and blues world down in Texas, Austin, Texas. She's an extremely talented guitarist and artist. So she joined. We have Vanessa McGowan play bass. Ellen Angelico did all things strings, the lap steel guitar and things of that nature. And Megan Jane is a drummer based in Nashville, and so she played the drums. And I wrote and produced the song. So this was a nationwide project. We didn't meet at a studio. I just sent them the acoustic track, and they all tracked in their own houses.
That is amazing. I was going to ask you, did you all do it all together, or did you do it separately? Yeah.
No. There's just respect for their genius, for their craft. And it was so special to me because representation of women in music in general, and not just, and you get further down to country music and Americana, representation of women in music as musicians, as producers, as writers is small.
You'll hear a name or two. You might hear like a Diane Warren, but you don't really hear about the women that are. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
absolutely. It seems to be few far in between. So we got together. We just did it. I mean, they sent me the track. You know, they sent me their pieces, and I got to work at my home studio where I cut and paced and moved, and I recorded. I produced the vocals, the additional vocals on the track. And then I took it to my engineer to get it mixed. Like, we did the entire project like that.
You've got me sitting here thinking about other artists and performers that have used all-girl, that word probably shouldn't be used, all-women musicians on their projects. Can you think of any? I think Beyonce has done it. But I know it's got to be more, right?
It's got to be more. I've seen Beyonce, especially when she performs, right? But I think Alicia Keys has done it.
Okay.
I remember seeing a producer that she was working with. And I have some friends right now, you know, in Nashville who are doing it, who work with all women to produce a song, you know, so we're coming up. You know what I mean? Like we're taking our place and asking people to recognize what we have to bring to the table. And I felt like the song "Too Much of a Woman" was no better song to do that for.
What does it mean? What does that song mean, to be too much of a woman?
Being too much of a woman, it's loaded because I've had conversations from women across the world on two different sides of the world. And it's like we're all fighting the same battles. You know, I have a friend who is from Iran, and, you know, there's a battle right now over women being able to wear their hair in public. I spoke to another friend from Vietnam, and she's an artist, and she talks about the pressures that she feels to stay under a certain weight or they won't book her.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just mind-boggling to me that in 2023, we still have some of these basic human rights battles. And
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and let you chime in.
No, you're right. And the problems that somebody is having in Iran, the very same problems being held here in America. I mean, just this past week, I know that there was a fight in North Carolina about women's rights and abortion rights, and it's just a struggle everywhere you go to be a woman.
Everywhere. To be a woman. It's like something. It's like, why? Why is this so much? Why is it so difficult for the other demographic to simply accept our freedom, like in our autonomy and the decisions that we made? It's just mind-boggling to me. And so that the song being too much of a woman, it seems as though we've been fighting to just be women for centuries, and we shouldn't have to fight to do that.
But we do. And so since we do have to fight, what's the advice? Just keep on fighting? Is there some wisdom out there that we're missing? What needs to happen, or is it just going to be a struggle?
I feel like the advice is, number one, take up space. Don't be afraid to take up space. But number two, understand that we have to stop taking somebody else's problem with their own ego personally. Like that's you have an issue with your ego. That's not my problem. You're there was a great quote that says, "Sis, you are not intimidating. They are intimidated," and there's a difference.
There is a difference. There's a difference. Yes.
You know, so I feel like for women, we have to understand. You know, this has more to do with said person's ego and their insecurities more than it actually has to do with me being me.
But Roberta Lea, let me ask you this. We're talking about the other gender, and why is it so hard for them to accept us as we are? Do women accept other women?
You know, it's almost like a social programming. So when you have women, for example, women who are opposed to, you know, abortion rights, or women in Iran who do believe that women should keep their hair covered, those beliefs come from somewhere. You know what I mean? Like it's a construct. If you were left alone in a room and everyone else in the world was gone, you would have the freedom to do whatever you want.
Right.
Who's going to say what to you? You know? So the belief that the self-defeating belief that women have adopted, and I've been guilty of it. You know, I've been guilty of some of those self-defeating beliefs. But they are influenced from somewhere. And for me, when I wrote this song, I'm in my 30s. I have reached a point in my life where I look back at those experiences like, oh, that's what that was. It wasn't me.
Right. It wasn't me.
So it wasn't me. You know, it was a moment, you know, and they talk about that a lot when you get older and you just don't care anymore. You know, you don't care. You finally the veil gets lifted off of your eyes and you're like, oh, I understand. And for some people, that happens a lot sooner than others.
That is definitely true. The older you get, the less you care. I'm speaking to Roberta Lea. Have you heard her anthem, Too Much of a Woman? I need you all to download that and check that out. Now, tell us about Girls Trip. What's that all about?
Oh, that one's so fun. I'm very excited. Very excited for that one. I wrote the song and I co-produced it with a good friend of mine. His name is Calvin Mirage. He is an up-and-coming star-studded producer coming out of the 757 as well. And we've been wanting to work together for a really long time. And so when I had this song and I was wrestling with it for a little bit, I knew exactly who I was going to call, and we made it happen. And Girl Trip is the second single that I'm releasing for the album. And all of the songs, the intention is to show the multifaceted sides of who a woman is. So, and me personally, and obviously not just women, because anyone can fit in that, can relate to those songs. But for me personally, I have too much of a woman. And if you saw the music video, it's black and white. It's like, don't cross me, don't try me. You know what I mean? But Girl Trip is the side of me where it's like, when I get with my friends, I'm ready to have fun, and it's colors and life and lively, and you know, it's just a lot of fun. And there's that side of me as well, you know. So these songs are intended to reveal my whole truth, which is to, and sometimes if people can't understand, that's what it is. It's too much of a woman. I am a boss when I need to be a boss. I will show up and I will put my foot down and I will stand up for myself. But I will also be goofy as I don't know what, and I will have a lot of fun. And then there's also, another song that's coming on the record is called "So Much More," and that's a song dedicated to my husband, where it's like, I do need you. Mm-hmm. The whole album, "Too Much of a Woman," is not supposed to be a man eater,
right.
A man here like, we don't need no man. It's not supposed to be that. It's that I want you to respect me in my strengths and in my weaknesses. Mm-hmm. Don't dismiss me because I'm a woman and because I cry. Don't dismiss me because you're better at hiding your emotions than I am. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make you any better than me. Mm-hmm. So I can come to the table strong, but also let me come to the table when I'm weak. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
right.
that I feel like that's the best, summary of what people can expect from the new music.
You all, I am talking to Miss Roberta Lea, and Scenes Country Music Almanac said she was the artist to watch this year. It seems as though they already knew in advance, as you said earlier, 2023 class of CMT's Next Women of Country. She does all of it, country, neo, pop, all of that. Country singer is what you hear sometimes, and songwriter, but she's got some talent and she's got some chops, and right here from the 757. How amazing is that? So what's going to be going on in 5 years, 10 years?
I hope to be traveling the world, doing what I love with my family. I hope to have a great established team. And that's in the process now. We're a small team, but we're doing what we're doing. So I hope to see growth and increase. I'm an independent artist, and I'm treating this entire experience as one big experiment, and it's like just a huge learning curve. And so I'm hoping in the next 5-10 years that there will be an established career. I hope to continue to be awarded in different spaces. I look forward to seeing my music synced in movies and in theater.
How cool would that be?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I didn't even realize someone said that Girl Trip 2 was coming out. I'm like, oh,
yes.
snap.
Yes, it is. It is. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to expanding and seeing the growth from the seeds that we plant right now.
Who do you like to listen to?
Oh my gosh. Oh, everybody. I'm very big on old school music, honestly. I try my best to keep up with the new school right now, but I just can't help but turn on some Nina Simone, Sam Cooke, Anita Baker.
See, okay, okay. Sam Cooke. Anybody say the name Sam Cooke to me, they are my friend. They're my BFF for life. Okay,
gosh.
Because I don't care what anybody says. There is nobody on the planet Earth that can whoa like that man used to sing. Okay.
Okay.
My dad turned me on to that.
Oh, listen, no lies. I hear no lies right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you like the old school, huh?
I love the old school.
With what you're doing, do you ever get to speak to people like Chapel Hart? Do you get to speak to like the Mickey Guitons of the world? Do you all ever have conversations? Because it seems as though what you're telling me and what I've read from them, it sounds so familiar.
Yeah. I love Chapel Hart. Okay. I'm just gonna I fangirl them really.
Cool.
I fangirl them a lot. I love them. They're just such good people. I got the chance to meet Mickey Guyton at the induction ceremony for CMT's Next Women of Country. I spoke to her. I spoke to Raina Roberts.
That's good.
Lots of folks, where I just, I ask for their advice. I get their 2 cents, and they just encouraging. They're just encouraging.
Let me do this.
And others, yeah.
We're about to run out of time, about 20 seconds left. Tell people how they can get to you.
Oh, please find me at I am Roberta Lea, spelled Lea, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and you can find me at www.iamrobertalee.com.
You all check her out. Too Much of a Woman Girls Trip is coming out. She's doing amazing things right here from the 757. Miss Roberta Lea, I am wishing you all the best in the future, and I know you're going to make it. I am so proud of you.
Thank you so much, Miss Cheryl. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Behold the green and gold.